Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Chat with the Chief. As always, I'm your Chief Jared Mills and I'm here today with District Attorney Maeghan Maloney.
It's great to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Absolutely my pleasure. The pleasure's all mine. We love to have folks like you on here who are experts in the field that you are, and obviously this is very, very important, the law and what's happening currently with the situation
Absolutely.
with the governor's executive orders and stuff. So I would start by asking, where are we at court-wise and district attorney's office-wise? A lot of people have the misconception with law enforcement that, we're not stopping vehicles, we're not out there doing regular business, and we really, we really are, doing it from a social distance, but it's still happening. And I'm curious to know and for everybody to see what's happening at the district attorney's office.
Well, I'm so glad we're having this conversation for precisely that reason. It is so important that people know law enforcement is open.
Yep.
Law enforcement is keeping people safe, and we are still working full-time. There's no one on my staff that is getting paid for half-time work and getting paid full-time for half-time work. Right. Everyone's working full-time. That is a really important message for people to know. If you call the district attorney's office, your phone call will be returned. If you email us, we will email you back. And most importantly, in a way, without realizing this was coming, we've been preparing for this for well over a year now, because we receive all of our police reports electronically. Having that in place well before this started means that working with social distancing was seamless. We were already receiving all of our police reports over the internet. We were already screening them over the internet. Our filing cabinet no longer exists in the wall. Right. It now exists in a computer. Right. And all of our files are computerized. So both our legal secretaries and our attorneys are able to get work done from home, which is fantastic as far as my ability to get the work done and keep everyone safe. We're fortunate that we're in that position, and I would feel horrible if we weren't. We do have close quarters when everyone's in the office. We have cubicles and people very close to each other. But I'm able to say, as long as you get the work done, you can work from home. You still need to respond to the calls. You still need to respond to the emails. You need to get all of the cases screened. And wow, have I been impressed. Yeah. If I send someone an email, it doesn't matter if they're working from home or if they happen to come into the office that day. I get an immediate response within a minute. Call someone, there's an immediate response, because people really are working. And I can also see, just in looking at the cases, that all of the work is getting done. We're screening cases now into June because we've gotten caught up on the backlog, and we're moving forward so that when things do open up again, we'll be fully ready to go.
And you're right, the technology out there has really, really saved a lot of us. I mean, I've often said, and Ken, there's a lot of things I can do from my home, that I can do in the office too. So that's great that that's working out, and you're absolutely right. We're utilizing the same techniques at the police station. So let's move into a little bit about, what we've seen with the domestic violence and things like that. It's no secret that our call volume overall is down, but we're still seeing those serious cases.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of resources still out there that are maybe underutilized. Tell us your perspective on that.
Well, my big concern is victims not being confident in reaching out for help. Yep. So my biggest message that I would like everyone to hear is, if you're a victim of domestic violence or sexual assault, call law enforcement. Call 911. There will be a response. The district attorney's office will screen the case. We will be handling things like we always have. And those cases have always been top priority, and none of this changes the fact that those cases remain our top priority. So that's my biggest concern, is people feeling like they can't reach out and get help when they want it, and they absolutely can. Right. Now, another resource that you just talked about we're both on the board of the Sexual Assault Crisis and Support Center. Right. So we both know that if someone wants to get information but isn't ready to report to law enforcement, that is such an important resource for them. And I know that we're going to have on the screen the number for the Sexual Assault Crisis and Support Center. You can call them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and just get confidential information. Same with the Family Violence Project, and their information will also be shared. Yeah. Any question on domestic violence, you can get information 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that is, it's critical for people to know that's out there. And I always like to add that when you call those hotlines, they don't call us. Right. It really is confidential. Yeah. So if you're not sure, if you're feeling, I'm not sure yet that I have the courage to reach out and to talk to the police, you can call these hotlines and you can ask your questions and you can ask what will happen. And they do have the ability to contact us to ask us questions anonymously. Sure. So then they can get information back to people. And that way, there's more than one way for someone to get information. Directly from law enforcement, if it's an emergency, or 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, hotline, if they want to just get more information.
That's a great message. It is. These are not new entities. These have been around for a very long time. Yeah. We're seeing that trend over the last month of maybe those resources not being utilized as much. But they're just like us, just like the district attorney's office, the police department, they're open. Yes. And they're ready, willing, and able. And that's a great point about the anonymous part of that, is if you don't want to involve law enforcement, you don't have to. Right. They will work with you and give you those other pieces of information. That's great. And I would maybe close with, if you want to give us a little, maybe an update or where we're going with the courts. Are they open? What are we looking at as far as, down the road once things get going?
So the best place to get information on the courts is the court website, because it does change and it will continue to change as we deal with this pandemic. Right now in Augusta and in Skowhegan, the courts are open 8 a.m. to noon for people to go in and get a protection order, protection from harassment order, anything that people need. But our court hearings are actually being done via video. So all of our in-custody arraignments, any motions for bail amendments, those are all being done via video now. And that's been interesting. That's, it's hard to get used to that process, but very important to keep everyone safe while we continue working through this pandemic. My hope is, as we get more and more comfortable with using the video equipment, that we'll have more and more hearings. I know that people need access to justice, and I hear from people all the time, when can I get my hearing? And defense attorneys, they have clients who are constantly reaching out to them, and they need to have a hearing. They want to be able to have their day in court, and we want to be able to give that to them. Sure. So that's my hope, is that we'll do more and more. Yesterday, we had our first mental health court since the start of this pandemic, and that went well. We had over 12 people on the video conference line, and everyone was able to hear each other, see each other. So that gave me a lot of hope that things are moving in the right direction. I know our Veterans Court and our Co-occurring Disorders Court has continued to have their weekly hearings and their weekly meetings, all via video. So there's a lot that's still happening. The big piece that we're missing is the ability to have jury trials. I'm hearing that there's no definite decision yet, but the court is hoping in Kennebec County to start having jury trials in September. It will look different from how it's looked in the past. Oh. Instead of bringing in 120 people all together and picking from that the various juries, there'll be 40 people brought in. There'll be space in our biggest courtroom where people have to sit 6 feet apart to make sure that we keep social distancing. And we'll bring in 40 people at 8 a.m., 40 people at 1 p.m., another 40 people the next day. So it won't be the same way we've done it in the past. But everyone is hoping that that is something we'll be able to start. We need to give people their day in court. We all know that, and we want to make that happen.
Oh, that's huge, and that's great to hear, because a lot of people, I'm sure, don't realize that, and all the work going on behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
That there's still the processes that can happen with the technology are still happening. So kudos to you, your office, and the court system for working really diligently on this. And it is, that's a good point, because we're looking at things that we're doing differently now that we might, in the future, what is the most efficient way?
Right.
Are we doing it more efficient in certain areas now than we were before? So it'll be interesting to see once everything is back to the way it was. Who knows when that's going to be, but
once we have a vaccine.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right, I think
Exactly.
so. And I know for me, I found a new fondness for scarves, because you could just pull them right up,
Fantastic.
and you've got your portable mask with you all the time.
Absolutely.
So that's
You wouldn't know. It goes with the outfit, and you have no idea, so that's great.
One new thing I've started.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you can think of that we haven't discussed or you'd like to get out there?
Well, I would just like to say thank you to the Maine people. This has been a very difficult time, and I am absolutely grateful that crime is down. I am grateful that our hospital beds, that we still have capacity, that we have ventilators that aren't being used. And that's because the Maine people have followed the governor's orders, have been really doing their best. And this is such an incredibly difficult time, and I'm so grateful. So I just really want to say thank you. The Maine people have responded, they have really stepped up, and they have done such a great, great job.
And I echo exactly that. What a great closing that was. Thank you very much for coming on the show, and we'll see you next time.